As per the last video, this video will be focusing on the lower half. As said previously, it's ended up being a really long video. It's about an hour and a quarter in the end, which is it's too much for everyone to watch in one go, and everyone goes brain dead. So on to part 2 of the Gen 5 Glock 17 Tokyo Marui disassembly. Thank you. Now for the lower half, which I don't enjoy doing. Yes, I don't enjoy doing it. I don't really know what to say much more than that. So, first thing to notice, no screw there. It's magically held in place. So, first of all, let's take off the mag well. Is that one? No, it's not. It's that one. Oh, I'm wrong. Had it right first time around. There you go. So, mag well, come out. These JDJ mag welds. These JDJ mag welds are not a great fit as stock. So if you look at mine, I've had to sand off the paint from the inside, and that's just enough to allow it to sit without squeezing the mag well. The other thing is, if we put it back, and I don't know if you can see it, but there is a tiny gap here. Now if you tighten that screw to the point where there's no gap, it compresses the mag well, and then you can't get a magazine in and out. So it's not a perfect design. It's nice, it looks nice, so you just don't tighten the screw up too much. Right, long handled screwdriver goes in here. There are 2 screws, one either side of here. If you've got the lanyard mount, then it's still the same. So you put in here and dig around and you'll find a screw. There you go. And another screw. That all comes out. So there you go. That's the magwell adapter. It slots in there, replaces the lanyard mount. Keep those 2 screws safe because they're required for later. Okay, so to get the hammer unit out, you have to push out this. There you go. And then there is a screw down here. Now what does this fit? Oh, just about. So unscrew this. It's a really long screw, so it takes ages to unscrew. Keep going. There you go. And now if you tip it out, give it a knock. So there's like a counterweight that acts as a washer, and this screw goes into the base of your hammer unit. Very much more elegant way of holding your hammer unit in place. Fair play to Marui. You can then squeeze the trigger, trip the hammer, and pull it out gently. Now be really careful when pulling it out, because this is where springs go flying. So this is the hammer unit. I will do that now, but I'm going to reassemble it straight away because I absolutely hate these hammer units and I don't want things to disappear. So first things first, you need that little pokey end bit. So you're going to remove this first. The way to do that is you get your tiny little screwdriver bit under here, pull it back, and then use your fingernail to lift this out the way. Be really careful with this because they are prone to snapping. There you go. So what I've seen on a lot of them is that this arm here snaps, and if that snaps then you've got nothing to hold in this spring, which means you've got nothing holding in your trigger bar, which means your trigger bar regularly disconnects and it's a nightmare. So let's look at the springs. You have, this is your trigger bar spring, put that there. You've got your disconnector spring. You've then got almost what looks like a Glock 18 housing. I suspect they've done this deliberately. So you push that out. It's worth noting, I've already tried this, the pins are not the same as a Glock 18. So now you can, and I would recommend you cover this because that spring goes missing, and I've lost one's in the dog fur somewhere. God knows when I'm going to get that back. So cover it with your finger and then pop it out. There you go. So that's your trigger sear spring. Oh, there you go. Your trigger sear, there's like some, I'll have to show you, there's some major witchcraft in getting that out. So push the main pin out, this is for your hammer. Ooh, there you go, so that's your hammer pin. And prepare for everything to go flying. I'm going to use the forceps to remove things now. So that's your hammer spring. Your valve knocker, that comes apart into 3 more pieces. Your valve knocker spring. Is there any more in there? Oh yeah, the sear. So the sear, like whoever designed this hammer mech is either a genius or bordering on insane. To get the sear out, you've got to sort of wiggle it out like that. It is, I don't have words to explain how frustrating that piece is, which is why I recommended you get forceps, because doing it with your bare hands is just impossible. I don't know, it's a little bit mental. So this bit here, this is your knocker, your valve knocker. So your valve knocker, as well as that main bit, has this like little head on it that that wobbles, so that it basically glances off of the valve when you insert a mag and it's not ready to fire. Let's see if I can get this out. There you go. And I've lost that. There you go. So that's that pin. This comes out. You've got a tiny little spring here, which is even smaller than your sear spring. There you go. I would recommend, if you're doing replacement spring sets, this is the only stock spring that I would say is better than the replacement. All of the others, the replacement springs are better, but this one is a lot stronger than the cow or the Garda replacement, so I'd recommend you keep this one. And then there's a little ball bearing in the middle. There you go, little copper bearing. So, in reverse, bearing goes in there, little spring goes in here. There's actually I don't know if you can see it, there's a tiny little hole for that spring to sit in. There you go. I wonder if it goes. Oh, this is a nightmare. I am regretting this. Right, forceps it is. In there you go. Put the pin back in. You'll see here the spring sits on a tiny little ledge. I'm just gonna knock this back in. Try not to hit your fingers. There we go. Gonna have to use the end of my screwdriver just to flush it out. There you go. There we go. Oh, right, missed it. Oh, springs there. There you go. I'm gonna have to do this again because I've lost the spring. There we go. Right, so start again, spring goes in here in this tiny little hole. There you go. And then that goes on there and it all sits in place. And now you've got to find the pin, put the pin in. By the looks of it, the easiest way of doing it is putting the pin in through the side that the spring sits on, and then at least it's all secured in place. Try and do this again without smashing your fingers. There you go. And you know you've done it right because it lifts up, not down. So it lifts in the opposite direction of that little undercarriage bit. So now to put it all back together, the first thing I recommend you do is you put the sear back in. Okay. So there we go. That was not fun. What I'm going to do is, just to save myself a little bit of heartache, I'm going to put that pin in place, because if that falls out again I'm going to cry. Right, so now you put in your valve knocker with its spring. There's this long spring that sits there. That goes in, there's a dimple that you want to line it up to. Right. Spring in first. And then catch the spring. Getting this back together is my least favourite job. I've been putting it off for a video for ages because it does my head in. It is a nightmare. Okay, so you kind of carefully, that was just the pin. Put that back in place. Now, having all of the problems that I said to be wary of, let's try this again. Put your pin in here to prevent the sear going walkabouts. That's fine. Hammer, valve knocker and pin. In fact, actually, you know what might be easier is if you put this in place first. There's like a little shelf that it catches on. There you go. So it's now called, oops, no it's not. There you go. So it's now sat in the right place. Get the spring. Put the spring in. Push it into place. He says, having just dropped the spring. Found the spring. Let's carry on. So, where were we? Oh yeah, trying to get the spring in place. So, get it in place. I absolutely hate this. Hate this so much. Right, there we go. There you go, that's the trick to it. Use forceps. Okay, so now getting the hammer in is the next drama. So make sure your valve knocker is lined up correctly. Put your thumb underneath, put it in from the top. Now there's a little bit of jiggery pokery that needs to happen here because you've got to release the sear. And then slot this hammer piece into place. Whoa. There you go. Slot it into place. I would try and catch it with your screwdriver. And once it is in place, you can put it in from the wrong side as well. Okay, so get the holes to line up. Drop it in. Sometimes what you're going to have to do is move the hammer to get the right engagement. There you go, and sits flush now, so that's good. There's the other pin. Easiest way of doing this is you drop the spring in like that. I've actually got the wrong way around. It goes. So the way to have it is there's like a curved end and a flat end. The flat end sits on the sear and the curved end you squeeze into the gap. So you squeeze it in. It requires a lot more force than you think, and this is where it tends to go missing, is you put a lot of force on, think that you've got the pin through and you don't, and then it gets stuck in your dog's fur. Right, so that's all done, that's reassembled. That, well, it's not actually finished, I've got these bits. That was not fun. Check that you've assembled it right before you go too far. So arm the hammer, push the sear, Do it a couple of times just to convince yourself that you've not got it wrong. There you go. That wobbles up nicely. So next is the disconnector pin, which goes in here. There you go. That fits in nicely. And then your trigger spring. Now, to get this all back in place, you've got to get your screwdriver or whatever you got that's long and thin under the hammer. You then got to yank the hammer spring as far back as you can and slot this in place. And you've got to be really careful about it, because if you do it wrong, you snap something. There you go. All good. I'll put that back in slightly later once we've done the rest of this. So then you've got the rest of the unit. The hammer, the mag catch spring is really easy. You just use your finger to push it out the way and then pull this out. There you go. It is ambidextrous, so you could put it in the other way if you wanted. It's fine. So yeah, the spring, where's it gone? Oh, there you go. So the spring is just held in place by the tension of the mag catch. So once the mag catch is out, that'll fall out. Next step is the slide lock. Same as every other Glock slide lock, just pops out. It's actually a Gen 4 style-ish. Screwdriver to do this. I might need a bigger screwdriver. Yeah, I'll use a bigger screwdriver. Just don't damage anything. There you go. And now what I want to do is just push out the trigger pin. Now sometimes these trigger pins are secured in place and you've got to sort of wiggle. Let's give it a tap and see what happens. Okay, so after referring to the user guide, RTFM, it is a nailed pin. So you have to make the pin set in from the right hand side. So you have to make sure that you're pushing it from the left hand side, and then comes out. There you go. That's your front rail assembly. That is your slide lock, slide catch, which it looks like it comes apart into more pieces, but I'm not gonna tempt fate. And here are your there you go. It's completely apart. I have some spare parts I want to fit, so I'm going to do that whilst I'm here. Right, found the bag, and what I'm looking for is the spare trigger spring, so that trigger spring can go elsewhere. So now we've got to figure out how to put it all back together, don't we? So first of all, the serial number plate, then it's fallen out. Make sure this all goes back in correctly. On a sort of side note, you can see where they've where Tokyo Marui have sort of taken lessons from older generations of Glock. So for example, the front post mount here is angled, goes in that way as opposed to straight down, which gives it a little bit more strength and it's less likely to strip. There you go, so that sits in there. Let's put the go. Forceps again. So. Let's put the pin in partially to make life easier. Oh yeah. There we go. It goes in partially. You don't want it to go in all the way because you want the trigger spring to fit in place. So you put the. This is super fiddly, isn't it? There you go. Put that in place. Now what you have to do is push it in. Actually, it's probably easier to do it this way. You push it in and capture it with. Oh, maybe it's not easier that way. There you go. That's all in place. The spring for your slide catch can just be forced in with the fingertip. So if you use your nail, you can just sort of coax it in like that. Just gonna adjust it slightly as it's not sat quite in the right place. There you go. There you go. Let's find a big old screw. There you go. Need that back at some point. There you go, that looks all right. Put the slide catch back in place. There you go. If you look at the way it's done, you want the slide catch to have a tilt forwards, because what will happen is the slide will roll over it. The tilt will allow it to push down, and then it will lock the other direction. If you put it in the wrong way, it will release really easily, and you won't be able to put the slide on easily. It's just bear in mind. as per any pin. There you go, back in place. You might just, there you go, knock it back in better. Alright, so mag catch spring. Put it in that way. So I want mine to go in like that. Now this is slightly tricky because the mag catch spring is in the way. Hold on a sec, I'm kind of silly. Push it from the other side. There you go. And then again, forceps might be easier for this. Use the forceps to. Oh. Put the spring in the right way, by the way. So what you want is the thankfully that didn't go far. So you want the arm of the spring, so that side of the spring, to be facing in the direction of where your mag catch is going to go. So in this case, I'm going to be pressing it with my thumb on the right hand side. So you're going to have to put the spring in on the right hand side, the arm facing on the right hand side, push it in as far as it will go, like that. Sorry, fingers are getting stuck on this. And then just leave it into place. There you go. Now, I've just realised I put this in leftways, which feels horrendous. So I'm going to switch it around. So there you go, so it's going to be like that, and this goes in from the other side, and then again use your forceps to grip and pull. Oh, getting my fingers stuck all the time. There you go. Just use your thumb to push the spring down enough, because if it sits too far up then you lose a lot of movement on that. So that's now almost ready. Next bit is the hammer. So the way to do this is you've got the spring there, you drop the hammer mech in slightly, you then drop the hammer in over the spring and let the hammer, sorry, I've been saying hammer instead of trigger. So drop the hammer mech in, allow the trigger bar to rest over the spring, and then compress the spring, and then you can sit it all in place. There you go, and it should just drop in nicely. That pin can go back in place. Tap tap. There you go. And gently, if you want a little bit of a confidence test, there you go. Now to secure it for the final bit, there you go, it was right in front of me all along. So screw this in place. There you go. Again, you want to be careful with these screws because if you over tighten them, you're going to shear them. All those Tokyo Marui, they're made of Chinesium, aren't they? So it's going to end up breaking. Next bit is the magwell. Put that in place. This bit I always find challenging because you're trying to look down the hole to put the screw in and it's not obvious. There you go, first time. Lucky, lucky, lucky. There you go. There we go. That can go in there. That's the... There you go. So now, if I stop that all together, that works. I'll put a mag in just to be sure. There you go, all good. So that is a complete disassembly of the Gen 5. It's first time doing it on video, so it might not be 100% clear. I'm happy to redo bits that didn't look particularly clear in the first place. I'm going to be doing a few more upgrade videos in the near future, so yeah, hope you enjoyed that. I've had these come in from the guys at WeTech, so these are Agency Arms Gen 5 slides. Hopefully they're good. I can already see they've learnt some lessons, so I'll talk about that later. So yeah, thank you, and until next time.